Hi everyone, I am Kumar Dutta. Currently, I'm working as an associate director in LTI Mindtree. Welcome to Incident Management 2024, powered by Conf42. Today, I will be talking about sustainability with performance and resiliency testing. Let me share my screen. From agenda perspective, today I will talk about sustainability and then I will talk about what is carbon footprint. Then we'll talk about why sustainability is so important to information technology. And then I will talk about sustainability with performance and resiliency testing as I am a performance tester by profession, right? And then I will talk about how performance and resiliency testing in with web performance optimizations assist in sustainability. Lastly, I will discuss on how performance and resiliency testing assist to improve sustainability post digital transformation. Before I start, let me introduce myself. I have been into industry for last 19 years doing performance and resiliency testing. I have almost 22 plus testing conferences, 12 plus of global webinars, and 72 plus of blog articles have been published, and most of them are into performance and resiliency testing field. Also received many global and organizational awards. Let's understand what is sustainability. Sustainability is nothing but meeting our own needs without affecting the future generation needs. Yes, we all have to think about our future generations. Sustainability is not just the environment, but also it has other dimensions. Like sustainability has three pillars: environment, economy, and society. Sustainability assists in many different ways. You talked about creating a healthier environment, you talked about energy consumption, you talked about employment, economy, you talked about good public health. All this comes from the sustainability. Sustainability helps in creating a better future for all of us. And we have all have to remember sustainability is not a single person job. It is everyone responsibility. All of us has a role to for sustainability, no matter what we do or what background we came from. I will say like time has already come and we all need to think about, if you are not already started, right? That about the sustainability and reducing the carbon footprint to the society, and this will lead to a better sustainable environment for our future generations. So, as I talking about reduce your carbon footprint, let's understand what is carbon footprint, right? Carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are created by all of our actions. So, when I say greenhouse gases, I was meaning mostly carbon dioxide and methane gases, but there are some other gases also in terms of the greenhouse. If you like ozone could be one, nitrous oxide could be one, or maybe hydrofluorocarbons could be one, or hydrochlorofluorocarbons could be one, right? So these all greenhouse gases are actually not good for our society. The more it gets emitted, the more harmful to the society, right? And people's products, organization, industry, everybody is having a carbon footprint. So we all have to think about it. And your carbon footprint includes all your daily actions, like how what you do in your day-to-day life, right? How you commute, what is the food you take, what are the clothes that you buy, you wear, the devices that you use, everything you throw away, all your daily actions, everything comes under the carbon footprint. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that larger the carbon footprint, the heavier it is for the our society or environment, right? So you all have to think about reducing your carbon footprint, and which is better for our environment and it is better for our future generations. And if we all think about our daily action in a such a way that it is having a little less carbon footprint, then eventually it will be a huge, means it can create a huge sustainable environment for us if we all start thinking about in that direction, right? Now, sustainability is very important to IT or our information technology, because we all people are from belongs to the IT industry, right? And if you closely look into the information technology business, right, we have lot of servers, lot of server farms, many devices, hundreds, thousands, or even nowadays, like for IoTs, it is like millions of devices, right? And all these devices or servers or server farms or whatever it is, right? Basically, it takes tons of resources, right? And think about how much energy it requires to ensure all these servers and devices are working, right? And then think about the immense greenhouse gases that are emitted from those devices or servers. And lastly, and most importantly, this device generates a huge heat, especially for the traditional data centers, right? They generate huge amount of heat. So additional energy is required to cool down those devices or those equipments, right? So overall, it has a massive sustainable impact. And today, all people are talking about it, right? Internet is the biggest place for the carbon footprint, and it is having the huge environmental impact. Everybody is now connected into the internet, right? And now we are in a age where we are not even talking about the only internet. We are talking about Internet of Things. We are talking about AI. We are talking about Chat GPT. There's all these are the vast sustainable impact, and we have to think about it. It is like a uh, you cannot even keep silent, right? You have to do something, right? So what we have to do is the organization and individual must think about the sustainability to reduce the carbon footprint to the society. And we all IT professionals should work in such a way, think in such a way that we can make IT as sustainable, or we can make IT as green, or maybe like we can think about a green IT. And that's what we all have to think about it if we are to think about our future generations. Now, if you are new to this sustainability concept, I will recommend you guys to go through um, two free courses, one by Green Software Foundation and Linux Foundation, and one by Microsoft. Green Software Foundation course is LFC 131, Green Software for Practitioners, and Microsoft course name is Principal and Sustainable Software Engineering. These are free courses, but these are very good. I mean, I personally went through both the courses, and it's very well uh, documented. I can say that way, right? And still, it's not the only two. There are plenty of other free and paid courses. You can go through that. Also, there are a lot of blogs. There are forums. If you wanted to learn, it is absolutely required. You can go through those things. Okay, but what all we are trying to say, or maybe what I'm trying to portray with this particular slide is we all IT professionals should think about the green ITs, and we should learn this concept. We should play a role, or maybe like I can say like an active role to reduce the carbon footprint to the society and make this world a sustainable places for our future generations. Now let's talk about the how performance and resiliency is actually related to sustainability. So as I am a performance tester and resilience tester by profession, I'm always inclined towards it. And knowingly or unknowingly, if you are doing performance testing and conducting resiliency testing, then basically you are helping in sustainability. Let's understand how. It basically does in two ways. First, performance and resiliency testing always helps in making the applications or website faster, right? The moment the applications or the website is faster, it uses less data to serve the request, right? And eventually it generates less carbon to the environment. So it actually helps in reducing the carbon. Okay. On the second approach, it actually performance and resiliency testing that are the other thought is like it always helps in optimizing the server resources, right? So if the server resources are optimized, then it consumes less energy, and which is better for our sustainable perspective, right? So both ways performance and resiliency testing helps in, right? Now, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is like by conducting continuous performance and resiliency testing, carbon footprint will be reduced and sustainability will be improved. Now, let's understand in both ways. So, yeah, either it could be your data center is in on premises or it could be in the cloud, right? So, if it is a on premises, Traditional data center does not have the flexibility to scale up or down easily, but it can always ensures optimal service server resource utilization, right? And how that will be done? That will be done via conducting continuous performance and resiliency testing. In fact, there are other ways also. You can think about optimized resource driven high availability concept. Nowadays, application containerizations are there. But ultimately, all this leads to reducing the carbon footprint. That is what I'm trying to say. Now, if you think about the cloud itself is sustainable and it is having a less carbon footprint. It has the flexibility to add or maybe reduce the environment as and when required. And it is shared by many teams. And the most important, it uses green and clean energy. So all these are actually from a sustainability perspective. And what I will say, like over the years, especially for the last few years, we have seen many traditional data centers are nowadays using green energy, which is better for our environment. So overall, our objective is to minimize the wastage and optimize the resources as much as possible so that it can be more sustainable. It can reduce the carbon footprint to the society, right? And we all can do this by doing or conducting continuous performance and resiliency testing. And in cloud, you can think about the sustainable capacity planning. So these are the ways you can think about it, right? Now I'll talk about one more thing, like web performance optimization, right? We performance people are very much interested about it, right? We always talked about the web performance optimization, and web performance optimization actually helps in reducing the carbon footprint, right? As I said in last slide, there are two ways it done. The helps in sustainability, right? The first one I said is if your application is faster, it uses less data to serve the request, and eventually it will emit or less carbon footprint, right? So optimizing web pages or web performance optimization is one such activity which can help into using your application faster, right? The moment so you can think about web performance optimization by both ways, like whether it is a client side or it is a server side. In the client side, you can think about reducing the initial page load time or JavaScript that runs behind the browser or maybe downloading all the resources and many more, right? There are a lot of other ways also you can do. In terms of server side, there will be much more concept, right? You can think about optimizing your web servers, app server, or DB server. You can think about improving your DB queries. You can think about optimizing your other application dependencies or third party components, right? And there are a lot of best practices also available. Like you can think about caching, you can think about content delivery networks, you can think about minification or maybe syncing your file sizes. You can think about optimizing your images. You can think about application dependencies or optimizing the most business critical web pages, which is in terms of your user loads and maybe like the business function, or maybe like you can reduce the number of resources in the web pages itself, right? So all these are different ways to reducing the overall uh, page response time. The moment your page response time is less, it becomes faster, right? And when your application is faster, it emits less data, less carbon footprint to the less carbon to the society, right? Which is better for our environment, right? Web performance optimization is actually helps in reducing the carbon footprint. Now, before I talked about the post-digital transformation, let me tell you a different aspects of performance and resiliency testing. So, while performance and resiliency testing assist in sustainability, however, too many performance testing or too many resiliency testing leads to a creates higher carbon footprint. How? So let's assume you can think about any types of performance testing, whether it's a load, or there is a stress, or there is endurance, or whether it's capacity planning, or there is a volume, or maybe like whether it's your game day testing or any kind of resiliency testing scenarios, right? All of these are actually driven by higher workload and higher resource utilization, because performance testing does for that only, resiliency testing does for that only, right? So it all leads to higher or maybe like huge workload. The moment it is having huge load, that means it creates a higher carbon footprint. So too many performance testing or too many resiliency testing is also not good for the thing. So you have to think about it. You have to reduce the number of execution of performance and resiliency testing. And I wrote a LinkedIn article on this specific topic. Okay, so organizations should start thinking about it. Now let's talk about the digital transformation, right? So while we, in the terms of when we are doing the digital transformation, my organization moving towards the cloud and then doing all this digital transformation activity, their whole objective was to optimum the performance and optimum the user utilizations, right? So that they can make their end user first happy, and then by doing that they can also save cost and ensuring the sustainability, right? But post digital transformation, organizations are more interested in less carbon footprint at every stages of SDLC, okay, software development lifecycle activities, and which leads to more cost savings, which leads to better for our future generations, right? But they are all doing it in post digital transformation without compromising the quality attributes, because quality attributes still plays a major role for post digital transformation. So you have to think about it, right? And the moment we are talking about the sustainability aspect with performance and resiliency testing, post digital transformation, I think the organization should think about maybe at least 10 points that I have wrote down in a form of a article. So I'll come up with those 10 points, right? So first and foremost, any unnecessary or unplanned performance or resiliency testing should be strictly avoided. If you are doing full blown and performance testing and resiliency testing in a very low scalable environment, or your hardware or software configuration doesn't match with your live environment, then please do not do that performance or resiliency testing. It will not help you in, neither you are going to get the correct performance test result which you can compare, or it is not helpful for the sustainability perspective. So both of these are not only helps in reducing the carbon footprint, but it also helps in efforts as well as in cost, because that conducting performance and resiliency takes a lot of efforts and cost as well as. Now, organization should not conduct full blown performance testing frequently, like the earlier days, right? We used to do full blown performance testing all the time, right? So what I'm saying is you should not avoid it, but what I'm saying is you should do it in periodically, right? And also, performance environment should be smaller when you are not doing the full blown performance testing. When you are doing component level performance testing, that you do all the time, right? Component level performance testing, you set up a baseline, you set up a benchmark for your component level performance testing, compare the, when you have a new release comes, you compare the results with that lower environment itself. If your lower environment doesn't prove you it is good, then there is no point of going into a full blown performance testing, right? So basically, you are not only doing big performance testing or full blown performance testing less, your environment size is also getting reduced. So that is a practice of green testing, right? So that you can also think about, right? And you do only full blown performance testing as and when required and for periodically, and it is not only helps in saving the cost, but also in terms of the sustainability. And time duration of the performance testing should be also less. If you're running 2 hour load test, try to run it for 1 hour. If you are running a long duration endurance test, think about people run it for 16 to 24 hours to 48 hours of endurance testing. You do that, but you do that periodically. And in terms of if it has to be done many times, then you think about doing it 4 hours. So that will be leading to the less carbon footprint to the society. So I think the workload you can even think about. Not always you have to run with the peak workload. You can always run with your average workload also. So think those aspects, okay? And now the best part is if your test duration, performance test duration is reduced and your workload is also to some extent reduced, you don't have to create a huge set of performance test data, right? So your performance test data activities will be also less, right? So that will also help you in terms of the reducing or minimizing the carbon footprint. In fact, When your workload is reduced, your load generator count, the machine or maybe like the load injector count will be less, right? Load generator or load injectors are the machines which generates the load, right? The moment you will be having a less workload or you are not running it for longer duration, you can go with only single machines, right? On those cases, your overall carbon footprint will be again reduced, right? It actually helps in. And try to use a cloud load generator because it will helps in rather than the traditional setup. So that also helps to some extent in sustainability, right? So overall, what I'm trying to say in post-digital transformation, when you are talking about performance and resiliency testing, you should think about a overall impact-based, low volume, short duration, specific goal-oriented performance and resiliency testing, which is not only helpful in terms of the cost, which is not only helpful for the organization to get or maybe like to ensure that end users will be happy or maybe ensure end user happiness, and then it will also better for our sustainable environment. You can also think about conducting performance and resiliency testing at the off hours. This will lead to a less carbon footprint, right? And even green testing techniques like optimizing the performance test scenario will assist in reducing the carbon footprint. And if you are using the on premises, then try to use your existing hardware for a longer duration, right? So this is basically the expanding the hardware lifespans, right? Which helps in carbon footprint. And if you are using it for long duration, your US will be also less. So that is also good for the sustainability perspective, right? In fact, you can evaluate your power consumption on the background applications or the mobiles, laptops, devices, servers, right? And if you can actually possible, you can minimize that those power consumption, right? Which is another way of doing the sustainability, right? So, and I'll also suggest organizers should continuously look for reducing the amount of data transfer. So, and then the distance they walk. If they do that, their web pages will be faster, and then when their web page is faster, their end users will be happy. In fact, our organization can start using the emulator instead of the real devices, like, because we all always do a lot of mobile performance testing, right? On those cases, it is better to use the emulator, which is having the less carbon footprint rather than using the real devices. And if you wanted to do the rewild devices, then you must think about the device lifespan. It has to be increased. The moment it will be increased, it will be better for the environment. So overall, in post-digital transformation, organizations should be conducting performance testing in. So they had to do continuous performance testing, but they had to think in a different way. Now they have to do it in test early and test only when it is required, rather than earlier days when you used to talk about test always or test often. I think that has been changed in post digital transformation, that we all have to remember it. This is the blog that I was talking about, performance and resiliency testing for improved sustainability post digital transformation. The links are available. There are a few other blogs articles that I've already published. Like one of them is in Eurostar. This one is a global testing thread from Agile Testing. These two are from Matters Magazine, Sustainable Capacity Planning and Application Performance Sustainability with Auto Scaling and Thought. And then organization need to be very serious when conducting full-blown performance testing. That's the LinkedIn article I was talking about. And this was a very old article I published in 2020. Application do not run fast in cloud with continuous performance testing. All links are available. You can go through those articles as and when you have time.